My boyfriend says I'm too close with my mom, so I broke up with him on the spot. My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 25 female, have been together for 2 years. We are very close, and have talked about our future, moving in together, if we want kids, and what we want to do career-wise. We're both are currently in university where I am pursuing a PhD and he is pursuing a bachelor's, as he is also in the military. Because of him being in the military and also going to university, he is pretty busy and has already been on 2 deployments of over 10 months each. Granted that those aren't terribly long in comparison to many others. I am in uni full-time and also have a full-time job, so I am also busy but not in the same capacity as him. We both have met each other's parents countless times, and everything seemed to be going flawlessly. Or so I thought. 2 weeks ago I went to my parents on scheduled leave as I was getting my IUD changed and needed to recover after that, as I get put under for it due to endo, so they also remove any lesions or growth. They offered to have me over and I said yes, because it meant home-cooked meals. I live on campus at my uni as it is cheaper than renting an apartment in the area, so I eat on campus the majority of the time since it's included in my tuition. 4 days into my 2-week leave, my boyfriend asked to stay a few days as he had the week off and wanted to spend time with me and my parents. They said of course, and I of course did too. He came over and everything was fine until the 2 days later. My mom and I are very close, as in, no topics are off-limits close. To keep it brief, we talk about literally everything, including very personal things like medical issues and explicit topics. I know explicit topics may raise some red flags, but let me explain, as it was what caused the issue with my boyfriend. So bear with me and this might get a bit personal, but I will try to keep it clear but controlled. As I said, I recently got my IUD replaced. I've had one since I was an early teen, but this time I changed brands as the previous one started to give me issues. I was sitting at the island in our kitchen while my mom was washing dishes at the sink. She had asked how I was doing with a new brand and IUD insertion, and I told her how my outer region is super sore, and hurts worse when I stand, and that it feels like someone is pummeling my cervix. She nodded and sympathized with me, and mentioned that I shouldn't make it worse and to keep my hoo-ha off limits until the 6-week mark, which is when my doctor said that things can enter it again. I laughed and she continued with telling me how when she gave birth to my brother, who was quite the large baby, she needed stitches and she said how my dad was forbidden from entering her child portal until she was ready. This isn't even the worst conversation we have had. But I digress. My boyfriend was apparently in the next room within earshot. I didn't know this, as he said he had to go out and pick up a package from an Amazon locker at Walmart, so I guess he got back and then sat down in the living room. My mom's and I conversation changed subjects because I had forgotten to ask her about a recipe I wanted, but after about 30 minutes it ended and so I got up and went to the living room to wait for my boyfriend, but as I mentioned he was already there. He looked appalled and asked to talk to me outside. He told me how it was disgusting that I was talking about my private area with my mom, and it was even more disgusting that she told me about her and my dad's situation after the birth of my brother. He told me that he can't look at me the same now knowing that my mom knows all of my business and that she should be, verbatim, on a registry or list or something because that's freaking disgusting and inappropriate. I told him that since he feels that way, he doesn't have to ever see her again, because we are done. He didn't say anything and just left. Ever since then, he has been blowing up my phone apologizing and asking if we can talk, if he can have another chance, and that he wishes he had never said what he did. Now I know that not everyone has a good relationship with their mom, and that not everyone who does, is this close with her. We are close enough that if anything ever did cross a line, we would make it known. I also know that some people may take us talking about our genitals in a weird way, but everyone has them and it's not weird or gross to us, so we aren't embarrassed to talk about our struggles, especially as women. I'm not judging anyone who isn't comfortable with talking about that, so please don't judge me for being comfortable with it. I don't expect everyone to be on my side, because I do realize our closeness is probably abnormal, as I have been told that many times. But a lot of the friends in our friend group have been bombarding me with texts about how I was cold and insensitive for immediately breaking up with him on the spot. I would have been fine with his stance if he had just approached it politely or probably literally any other way than he did, considering he said my mother should be on a registry or a list. I mentioned that to our friends and they all say that he was just caught off guard and that anyone would have reacted emotionally in his situation. 2 of our friends are on my side and say that they would have done the same. Was it wrong for me to break up with him so quickly? I'm about 90% convinced that I did nothing wrong, but that 10% has been in the front of my mind for a while. Any advice or thoughts are appreciated. Edit. I thought it was implied, so I apologize for not being clear about this. He knew my mom and I were close. To quote one of my replies to a comment, he's heard me talk about personal things with her before. For example, about a month before the IUD conversation, I talked to her on the phone about my wild bowel movements and issues with my colon, thanks to the endo, while we were sitting in my dorm. Granted, this is the first time he's firsthand saw or heard me talk about reproductive issues. I've mentioned to him before how I've talked to her about things like my period and other health problems, but this is the first time he has heard a conversation in person.